Hi, my name's Mary, and I'm going to talk about the Asperger's brain. I watched a video called The Asperger Brain on a YouTube channel called The Autism Minute. And it explains how the Asperger's brain is different from a normal or neurotypical brain. And you can see the difference by observing the lit up or highlighted areas, and the lit up areas that would be the part of the brain being used or that was active. The Asperger brain uses more areas, or it's actually lit up in more areas than the neurotypical brain is. And that being said, it brought me to the realization of why it takes so long for people with autism or Asperger's. It seems like it's longer for them to process information, which it might take longer, but I can explain. This is what the video is pretty much about, is to explain the thought process that the ASPE goes through, from my point of view, from experiencing things that are so similar to everything that I've been researching. I thought I'd like to give you an idea of what it's like processing any information. Normally, this is information that well, it could be any information, actually. But I think the process is faster when the ASPE or the person with autism can relate, or knows about the topic, or is interested in it, and or has passion in the topic. It's so much easier for the person with Asperger's to kind of flow along with the whole thing. But even then, they might have to go through this thought process with some things. Hope that makes sense. So there's 5 steps that I've noticed, that I go through. This is personal, but also I think that this is also similar to a lot of other ASPEs, from what I'm studying, from what I see. And if it is different, then please let me know. But also let me know what you think of the 5 steps that I'm going to tell you. But these things aren't going to change for me. Like, this is how I deal with it, unless I find a better way. But I think this is kind of just how our brains are. And like I was saying, there's more areas of the brains being used, and that kind of explains it. But okay, so number 1, the first thing that you would have to do in order to process information in an Asperger brain, from my point of view, would be you have to pause, in a sense, your continuous internal thought process in order to concentrate and take in the information. That's the first step. Then number 2 would be, the information goes through a series of tests, or it has to go through an obstacle course that has many obstacles. So there's like a process. That's the actual processing part of it. Like the beginning, the initiation, I guess, of the, like it's going through different tests. And then number 3, I stated that you have to observe and evaluate after, going through all these tests. You have to kind of come to a conclusion, but that's actually the next step. Observe and evaluate, put everything into order. And then, number 4, you come to a conclusion. But the conclusion is in pictures. So, number 5, the step would be you have to translate from pictures or your mental movie, so to say, into words that make up a cohesive sentence. And the reason why I am saying this so fast is because I wrote all this down, and actually numerous times I wrote this down. So because I really wanted to get this across in the best order possible, I don't want to miss anything, I guess. Okay, and then the next thing I wanted to note was that Aspies, they may need a little extra time to process the actual information. But the misconception is that Asperger's brains need more time processing information because they are slow at processing, but that's not true. It's because they're processing the same information anyone else would be, but through many more facets and filters, which makes it look like the Aspie mind processes information slowly, but it's only to the observer from the outside looking in. And again, this is what I've noticed through experience. But because it's actually working pretty fast, it's plowing through different areas of the brain, exploring unknown territory, which to others is usually beyond reach, or maybe it seems unattainable, inaccessible, or inconceivable even to the neurotypicals. Okay. The fact that neurotypicals simply don't use these parts of the brain, and or because they don't know how to or can't get access to it, it explains why normal or neurotypicals seem to process information faster. Seem to process it faster. The autistic brain has to plow through the same areas of the brain as well, but doesn't stop there. While the neurotypical is answering a question, the Aspie is probably thinking of more possible answers due to the activity and the extra parts being used. So while the neurotypical will give an answer and not most likely not think further than that answer, but there are exceptions to some people, but most likely they won't think further than that. The Aspie at the same time is, like I said, from what I've experienced, is thinking about more possibilities, like I said. So I guess that's it, and I am going to make another video, and I think it's going to talk a little bit about how to learn about autism and how it affects people with it. Like how this challenge is affected by Aspies and by people with autism, straight from their mouth, would be a better, in my opinion, because of all the disinformation out there, it's better to get an idea from different people what it is for them, like what is autism for them personally. And I think that's something that needs to be done more often. Not to say that that should be the only way of studying this and learning information about this, but it's something that's not really taken into consideration, at least in the mass, the way the masses looks at it or views autism. So with that said, I am done. Thank you for listening, and goodbye.